Hari Om, everybody. We'll get started. गणानान्त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन् नूतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामविद्यवत् ओम गणेशाय नमः ओम सरस्वत्यै नमः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये वागीशाद्य सुमनसः सर्वार्थानामुपक्रमे यं नत्वा कृतकृत्या स्युः तं नमामि गजाननं सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय कोटिसूर्य समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति शांति शांतिः ओम सदाशिवसमारम्भां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ओम ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि सद्गुरुं तं नमामि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्य केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं यस्य सन्निधि मात्रेण सर्वे शिष्याश्च सेवकाः कर्मक्षेत्रे प्रवर्तन्ते चिन्मयं तं नमाम्यहम् चिन्मयं तं नमाम्यहम् Welcome back, everybody. You know, after studying texts like Tattva Bodha, for which some of you were with me, In the last 18 weeks, we thoroughly studied Bhaja Govindam. Now we are starting another Prakarana Grantha. Those who have joined new, I strongly encourage you to go through all of the 15 modules of Adhyatma Prakasha series, Vedanta Simplified, in which you will get exposed to the basic terminologies that are commonly used in Vedanta, and the purpose as to why we should study Vedanta. This is another Prakarana Grantha from Sri Shankaracharya ji called ATMA BODHA. While Tattva Bodha exposed us to the textbook of definitions, Atma Bodha is a text which introduces to a lot of concepts, ideas about Vedanta. Again, Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji is the author of, or the composer of this text. So we are going to, it is customary to introduce Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, which I did during our study of Bhaja Govindam. For the benefit of those who are new to our classes, I will again introduce you to Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji. As we know, Bhagavat Pada Shankaracharya ji was a great philosopher, thinker in the school of Advaita Vedanta. Please read the book if you want more details, produced by our Chinmaya mission called Shankara the Missionary, if you want to go through in detail. During this time of Shankaracharya ji, Hinduism was very fragmented. Buddhism was very dominant. It taught a lot of values of non-injury, compassion, self-restraint, all that. Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji was born in Kerala near Kaladi in the 8th century. He re-established Vedas as the basis of Hindu culture. He revived the philosophical truths of the Upanishads. Sham karoti iti Shankaraha, bestower of happiness. We know how Shankaracharya ji's lifespan was very short, just 32 years. He brought about the national integration during this time. And in one shloka, if we were to summarize, it says, Ashtavarshe Chaturvedi, Dwadashe Sarva Shastravit, Shodashe Krutavan Bhashyam, Dvatrimshe Munirabhyagat. By the age of 8, he had completed a thorough study of all the 4 Vedas, and he had mastered the Shastras by the age of 12. At the age of 16, Sri Shankaracharya ji had written Bhashya on all of the 10 major Upanishads, Prasthanatrayi, Brahma Sutra, and Bhagavad Gita. He established 4 matas representing 4 Vedas or 4 Mahavakyas in the Vedas, keeping the four of his distinguished teachers for each of the Pitam. Padmapadacharya, Sureshwaracharya, Hastamalakacharya, Totakacharya. And the doctrine of non-dualism, also known as Shankara Siddhanta, which is Brahma Satyam Jaganmithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Brahman, the absolute, alone is real. This world is unreal, mithya. The jiva or the individual is not different from Brahman. We are essentially divine, having a human experience. He brought about the revival of Advaita Vedanta by re-establishing the truth. It is called as Jiva Brahma Aikya, the oneness of Jiva and Brahma. With that much introduction, let us understand why we need to study ATMA BODHA. ATMA BODHA, as I mentioned before, is a Prakarana Grantha. Basically, it means it takes up or throws light on a topic of the Shastra. Texts like Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha, Bhaja Govindam, Viveka Chudamani, Panchadashi, all these, some of the examples that fall under the category of Prakarana Grantha. When we start to analyze our own lives, we begin to understand that we are pursuing so many things in life, externally in the world, for happiness. We know a majority of these pursuits fall under 2 broad categories: Kama, desire, and Artha Purusharthas. We perform actions, receive results. We meet different people, go through many experiences and circumstances. As of these activities, all of these can be classified into 2 categories called perception, response. We perceive an object, interpret a situation, then we act, which is followed by a result. The result with which we enjoy or suffer. Two possibilities. If the result meets our expectation, we are happy temporarily. If it does not meet our expectation, we are disappointed in the beginning, we are unhappy. If it does not meet our expectation consistently, we are angry, we are depressed, like that. This, in short, is the story of all our lives. That is why I call it a sorry go around, not a merry go around. If we analyze our lives, we like to do things we like. We avoid things, people we do not like. Let us analyze this a little further. We have what is known as mind. It is, if mind in all of us, is it not wandering all the time? You might be sitting in class, but your mind is somewhere else. Have you wondered why this is? Our ancient rishis investigated these type of human life problems as to why some people seem to be always happy, some people always seem to be suffering. They investigated this dichotomy. Suffering or sorrows, for some of them, seem to be following them wherever they go as a part of their life. But some of us who went through a detailed study of Bhaja Govindam understood that to develop dosha drishti, seeing the defects in the world, and to develop what we called as pratipaksha bhavana, meaning this viveki person starts to see the defects in the world, in the enjoyment of the world. Okay, number one. When I am listing these defects, the shlokas of Bhaja Govindam should come to our mind. We know that the enjoyment of the world or any form of bhoga has one temporariness or impermanence. It drains our energy. It causes dependence. It is associated with pain. And at the end, dissatisfaction is guaranteed. Meaning that after the study, developing pratipaksha bhavana, the contrarian view, I am a viveki, I am bestowed with vairagya, dispassion, I am intelligently analyzing and searching for that defect-free sukham. I don't want, and I want permanent sukham, nitya sukha. And I have also understood that even Svarga Sukha is temporary, because as soon as my punyam is over or the results of my meritorious actions are over, I am mercilessly thrown out of Svarga, says 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Then I begin my inquiry further as to what is the motivating factor behind all the things we like to do and avoid doing things I do not like doing. I start attending satsanga. I hear that there is something called Brahman. That is Satyam, Gnanam, Anantam Brahma, Anandam Brahma, source of infinite happiness. Nirdosham hi samam Brahma, dosha rahita Atma, free from all defects. Therefore, the journey of the seeker begins on the spiritual highway. Most of the people in this world do not have the courage to pursue the defect-free sukham. What do? We settle down for defective sukham and suffer. Most of you are from the auto industry, and I'm going to use that. Our instrument cluster, we need to have 4 meters. Just like we have fuel meter, engine temperature, etc., etc. We need to have 4, the 4 Ds of Vedanta. I need to take an exit or a U-turn, change direction, a course correction. Then I am told in technical scriptural language that I am leading a life of vasana anusari jivana, prompted by my inherent tendencies called vasanas that that manifest in the form of likes, raga, dislikes, dvesha. Raga, dvesha. For our remembrance, we will remember it as R and D. R and D. Our human mind has 3 types of problems. I have told this many times before. Impurities of the mind. Number 1, called mala. Restlessness of the mind, called vikshepa. Ignorance of the self. That is the 3rd problem. The root cause of the other 2 problems, called avarana. The seeker goes to a wise man or a teacher who tells him, hey, you are that Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa, your own true nature is that. Because of the inherent defects in you and a strong R&D, Raga Dvesha, not research and development, it will not allow you to make that shift. The negativities of anger, the negativities of jealousy, and many more are all mala, impurities of the mind. All these are barriers to our sadhana. Therefore, impurities of the mind needs to be eliminated. So far, are we good? Karma gives karma pala, or a result of an action. But our actions are finite. Therefore, the results are also going to be finite and limited. But the attachment caused by these actions are permanent. What do? I bring God into the equation. Upliftment comes only when we turn karma to karma yoga. When we dedicate our actions, our karmas, to the Lord, it purifies the mind. We call it Chitta Shuddhi. This is how we divinize our actions. How kartavya karmas or obligatory duties are dedicated to the Lord, Arpita Buddhi. I have told this also many times over. performance as worship of the Lord, dasya buddhi, and all karma pala, whatever comes as a result of my action, I accept it as prasada buddhi. While doing these actions, I recognize the Lord as karmadhyaksha, giver of the result, and I recognize him as karma paladata while receiving the result. So to remove mala for the purification of the mind, instead of egocentric or eccentric actions without purpose, I do more ecocentric to begin with for the benefit of the community around me, bring God into the equations, and all of my actions become God-centric. That is why even when people do Vishnu Sahasranama and other pujas, at the end they don't chant Palashruti, they surrender it to the Lord, say Krishna Arpanamastu. All my Kayika karma, Vachika karma, actions by speech, Kayika karma, actions by body, Manasika karma, actions by thoughts and mind, are all God-centric. To remove vikshepa, that is the second problem, we need to reduce our rajasic tendencies. See, commonly we hear, before the child was born, Venkatesh ji, there was so much time. Constant running around. Piano, soccer, Carnatic classical music, Hindustani music, karate, one team sport, Venkatesh ji, one individual sport. No time for Vedanta classes. Then we have Kuman, debate, and the list goes on and on and on. Vikshepa, restlessness of the mind. This has to be removed with japa, upasana. Rajasic tendencies are reduced by dhyana. Now, with the purity of the mind and the single-pointedness, chitta ekagrata, the seeker has learned how to divinize his action, how to divinize his emotions, making the mind single-pointed, leading him from Saguna Sakara Brahma, Lord with the form, to Nirguna Nirakara Brahma. That is the sequence. This is constant achara and vichara, a life of good conduct and inquiry. So far, are we good? Now, avarana, which is my third problem, that veils my true nature, which covers and projects the unreal, covers the real, projects the unreal. In fact, this is the root cause of the other two problems of mala and vikshepa. Now that we have identified the root cause of our problem, we have to do what we call as RCCA, root cause corrective action. We do that in engineering. We do that in problem solving. Meaning that this limited being, how can I be that infinity? These limitations we know from our basic study of Vedanta are Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata, Veda. That through my study, I know Atma is Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata, Veda Rahita. No limitations whatsoever. Now I have also heard through my basic Vedanta studies that AAA is my problem. Advaita, Advitiya, Atma Agnanam. I heard because of this adhyasa that superimposition, avidya, that leads to ahankara. So I need to get to the bottom of this by applying my viveka, atma anatma viveka, druk drushya viveka, sharira traya viveka, to understand my true nature, that I am not the waker, I am not the dreamer, I am not the deep sleeper. I apply panchakosha viveka, that I am not the five koshas, applying the gunatraya viveka, that I am beyond the three gunas of sattva, rajas and tamo guna, that applying the shariratraya viveka, that I am beyond causal body, gross body, subtle body. So these Vedantic masters or our acharyas have shown this atindriya vishaya, that are beyond sensory perception, that my senses cannot comprehend. I cannot see it, I cannot hear it, my mind cannot comprehend it. So this avarana creates three types of problems for me. That I do not know Atma. I do not know. Solution for that in Vedanta is Shravanam, constantly listening about the scriptures, listening to these spiritual masters. And then the problem comes, I do not understand. That can be cured by mananam, reflection on these concepts. And I do not have experience. That can be cured by nididhyasanam. That is why I need to study a text like ATMA BODHA. Okay, so far are we good? Now, ATMA BODHA is a text, book of ideas, concepts. It has a total of 68 verses. The uniqueness of this text is that every shloka has a simile or an example. We call it in Vedanta as drushtanta. That gives you an ability to visualize the concept. Like, imagine you are teaching alphabet to that little child of yours. When we say A is for apple, B is for boy, a picture pop-up book, right? How children, when they're 6 months old, they want to read, especially for the mothers. You know, the first word when the child begins to speak and says Amma, and then it says A for apple, that Amma cannot wait until the husband gets home that day. So this text, Atma Bodha, is like that because for Shankaracharya ji, we are all his children. Because out of compassion, he wants to simplify what he wants us to know through common examples. So we will begin this text under 10 topics, broad topics. As we go, I will outline them for you. Since this topic we are studying is subtle, we start with a meditative verse and then we end the class with at least 5 minutes of Nama Japa. I strongly recommend all of you, since the topic is very subtle, sukshma, for us to comprehend, we need to be at least sitting in a place we will do 5 minutes of Nama Japa at the end of the class. Let me share, starting with the prayer. Please gently close your eyes. Pratasmarami hridi samspuradatmatattvam. If you already have the text, please open page number 7. Satchit sukham paramaham sagatim turiyam yat swapna jagara sushuptamavaiti nityam tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sanghaha. The meaning of that goes, at dawn or the early hours of the morning, I meditate on that reality, which is that essential self, shining brilliantly in my heart, which is of the nature of existence, consciousness, and bliss, that supreme goal, that Paramahamsas Padavi, that which is the fourth plane of consciousness, that which illumines all the other states of experience in the dream, waking, and deep sleep, that Brahman, which is a partless I am, not the assemblage of matter envelopment. Next shloka. Pratar bhajami manasa vachasamagamyam vacho vibhanti nikila yadanugrahena yanneti neti vachanaihi nigama vochuhu tam deva deva majamachyuta mahuragyam. Again, in the early morning hours, that which is beyond my mind, beyond my speech, that by whose grace all speech is possible, who is expressed in the scriptures, how to reach by neti neti, that are expressed, that cannot be expressed by words, who is the God of all gods. Next verse. Pratar namami tamasa paramarkavarnam purnam sanatana padam purushotamakyam yasminnidam jagadasheshamashesha murtau rajvam bhujangamayiva pratibhasitam vai. Again, in the early morning hours, I salute that without any form, the nature of supreme illumination, that which is full, Purnam, that which is primordial, that which is Purushottama, the supreme Purusha, in whom the endless world has settled down from the beginning of creation. And this endless world appears like a snake on the rope. That which is unborn, imperishable, and ancient. With that, we will get into the actual text of Atma Bodha. If you can all turn to page number 9. If you have the text, if not, just follow along on the slide. The first verse, let's get in. Tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam tapo bhikshina papanam shantanam vitaraginam mumukshunamapekshyoyam mumukshunamapekshyoyam ATMA BODHO vidhiyate ATMA BODHO vidhiyate. Traditionally, every text in Vedanta begins with an invocation shloka, and this is that. We call it Mangala Charana, meaning an auspicious observance, prayer that is commonly offered to the Ishtadevata. For example, in Tattva Bodha, when we study, bowing down to Vasudeva or Krishna, he says, Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Gnana Pradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Vidiyate. I have also introduced you to the beginning shloka of Viveka Chudamani when we introduced this topic. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tama Gocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. In this, it is even a classic Mangala Charana because he offers salutations to Govinda. Govinda being Lord Krishna and also his teacher Govinda Bhagavat Padacharya. The main purpose of this Mangala Charana is to remember Guru and Bhagavan, to get their blessings to start the work. It is kind of an ego diminishing exercise that instead of Kartru, I become the Karana, the instrument of action for the Lord. How beautiful. Now, boy, I'm afraid to touch this mouse. Another key aspect of this verse is it describes explicitly what we call as Anubandha Chatushtaya, 4 preliminary considerations before we study the text. And I will expand on that individually. First consideration is Adhikari, who is the fit student to study this text. Mumukshunam, the one who is desirous of moksha. He wants liberation. He is the qualified student of this text. See, if you want to study physics, you don't study Atma Bodha. If you want to study something to relate to a joke, you don't just study Atma Bodha. Like that, only desirers of moksha want to understand, you study Atma Bodha. The explicit mention of this type of student does not mean that we all cannot study this text. What we need to, it is to encourage others like us to develop these qualifications. What are they? We say sadhana chatushtaya sampanna. One who has developed sufficient viveka, vairagya, shama, adi, shatka, sampatti, mumukshutva. He has a burning desire for liberation. Remember the 4 Ds of Vedanta. What are they? Discrimination, viveka, dispassion, vairagya, sixfold disciplines called shama, dama, uparama, titiksha, shraddha, samadhana, and burning desire for moksha, mumukshutva. So this verse also mentions some other criteria in this text. Tapobihi kshina papanam, shantanam, vitaraginam. Tapobihi, meaning performance of austerities. What sort of austerities? Don't think tapa means sitting in the Himalayas in a deep cave, doing deep penance like the Puranic stories and all that. By doing japa, puja, worship of the Lord daily, by observing vratas like fasting, maunam, etc. 3 types of austerities or tapas are prescribed in the Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter. Physical tapas, sharirika tapa, vak tapas at the speech level, manasika tapas at the mental level. 17-14 it says, Deva Dvija Guru Pragna Pujanam Shaucha Marjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. Sharirika tapas, worshipping of the gurus, teachers, out of love and gratitude, nothing else. At the physical level, having self-control, non-violent at the thought level and at the action level, all that is considered sharirika tapas. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat. 15th verse, 17th chapter. Swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapavuchyate. He does not talk where his words are not valued. He thinks more than he talks. At the speech level, being truthful, unoffensive, gentle person. This is all Vangmaya tapas. Then the third, Manasika tapas. Manah prasada saumyatvam maunamatma vinigraha bhava samshuddhirityete tapo manasa uchyate. Peace of mind, control of thought, control of speech, well poised. He is very pleasant to work with, always wishing good for others. All are considered tapa at the mind level. So, tapobihi kshina papanam, vitaraginam. In addition, he has developed a pure heart, less tendency to commit sinful actions. Kshina papanam. He performs nitya karma, daily obligatory duties, naimitika karma, occasional duties, all that very efficiently. That is tapa. Shantanam, he is calm, composed. Remember samachittatvam from Bhajagovinda. He is very well balanced, very equipoised. Vitaraginam. He has developed a lot of vairagya. He is free from the worldly cravings, meaning they are gone for good. He does not spend much time on R&D, meaning not research and development, ragadvesha. Because of that, he has kshina papanam. The sinful tendency, the tendency to commit sin is gone because his mind is purified. There is no mala and vikshepa. He is very focused. And that type of mumukshu, that type of, what is the topic of the study? ATMA BODHA, that knowledge of the self. That is the sambandha. the relationship between the teacher and the taught, bodhya bodhaka sambandha, the revealer and the revealed. For that mumukshu, who is desirous of the moksha, atma gnana, atma bodho vidhiyate. Atma bodha, the knowledge of the self, our true nature, vidhiyate. I am composing this text. Just to quickly summarize, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji is saying this text is meant for the student who has weakened sinful tendencies through austerities, through tapa, who is calm and composed, equanimous, agitations are at a minimum, no external cravings, meaning he has rejected the defective sukham, temporary sukham, who is sincere, who works hard for liberation. All of us need to look at our instrument cluster of the 4Ds, fill up if we are deficient in each of the categories. We need to start filling up that. Now with that, we will begin the first topic, meaning means of liberation. Shloka 2 through 5, 2nd through 5th. It covers a topic called means of liberation, moksha sadhana. Okay, let me open that. We will chant that for today, and next week we will go through the details on that. Bodhonya sadhanebhyo hi sakshat mokshaika sadhanam pakasya vannivatnanam vina moksho na siddhyati avirodhitaya karma na vidyam vinivartayet vidya vidyam nihantyeva tejasti virasangavat parichinnaiva gnana tannashe sati kevalah swayam prakashate hyatma megha payem shumaniva agnana kalusham jivam gnanabhyasadvinirmalam krutva gnanam swayam nashyet jalam katakarenuvat. Okay, that topic we will study next week. And now I want to introduce you to a little bit of Nama Japa. Okay, if you can all sit up straight in your own this thing, and
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. 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 Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah. Sarve Santu Niramayah. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Mrutyorma Amrutam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. May all be happy. May all be healthy. May all see auspiciousness. Om. Peace, peace, peace. May none suffer. Thank you, everyone. I'll open it up for Q&A now and our discussion. Thank you.